Early a minute or two doesn't matter. All right, welcome everybody to the February 24th Community Safety and Welfare Committee meeting. So
We'll try to make it as hard to say as possible.
well,
We succeeded.
old guys, we have a hard time with it, so. We'll call to order, we're going to stand for Pledge of Allegiance. Our former Public Safety Chair is here, Nick. Would you like to lead us in the
Oh,
Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Hand over heart. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks, Nick.
You're welcome.
Nice job. We all want his voice. We all want Nick's voice.
Radio
Yeah.
voice.
Well, then the handshake. That'll cut it, all right? Mangled me a couple times. All right, roll call.
Committee Member Anderson,
Present.
Committee Member Hazelton, Committee Member Royer,
Here.
Committee Member Spone,
Here.
Committee Member Walsh,
Here.
Vice Chair Salas,
She's here, she just ran up to the phone call.
and Chair Greenwald.
Yes, ma'am. All right, for our regular presentations, somebody new that I haven't met from the Sheriff's Department?
Hi, I'm Deputy Andy. I'm the Administrative Deputy for San Clemente Police Services. And I'm joined here with Ryan Case, who's our crime prevention specialist.
We know Ryan.
Yeah.
Ryan works hard for us.
Do you want me to get into our presentation?
Sure, sir.
I always got you.
Do you want to talk?
Yeah, I'll talk first. I'll talk briefly if you guys are good with it. I know there was questions about starting a subcommittee for Neighborhood Watch program, and I haven't had a chance to meet all of you, and I'm used to having all eyes on me when I talk, so I'm going to stand right here just real quick and pass these out. This is a map of the city of San Clemente with our current block captains, just for a frame of reference. What I do as crime prevention specialist, I do my best to bridge the gap between the community and the law enforcement side of San Clemente Police Services. My prior background to this was I was 16 years LAPD before I got to come out here, so I have a little bit of a working knowledge of what our deputies do day in and day out, and I have a chance here to work side by side with our colleagues here. I try and attend as many community events as I can, build up the goodwill that we have with the community that is done every day with our deputies showing up to every call that they respond to. And the next thing I do is Neighborhood Watch. Neighborhood Watch was a program that was essentially dead when I came in. Due to COVID and some other circumstances, we didn't have an active Neighborhood Watch. So when I was hired, that was one of the first things they wanted me to be in charge of. I was happy to do that. In LAPD, we had a position called the Senior Lead Officer, which was similar to what I'm doing now. And they would have Neighborhood Watch meetings. They would be in charge of those. The thing I didn't like about the way LAPD did it is that they would go into any community and they would have the same 10 talking points. It was not anything of value. It was common sense crime prevention tips. What I try and give people here is kind of tailored to the individual communities. So if someone calls me and says, hey, I'd like to have a Neighborhood Watch meeting, I meet up with them and we talk and we discuss the time, the place, and location. The idea is to get as many people from the community into one place as possible. Then I will spend the next few weeks leading up to that meeting going out different times of day, different days of the week, walking through the neighborhood, driving through the neighborhood, getting a sense of the foot traffic, the vehicle traffic, street lighting, landscaping, the designs of the house. And I look at it from two different points of view. From a law enforcement perspective, how can we make these houses more secure? And if I was a criminal, what are weak points here that I could find myself access into a house or a garage? And then I make my notes, I come up with an assessment, and when I come to the meetings, I will tell them, I have crime stats of what's going on in our city, here's a snapshot of what we're looking at. I can tell you what our deputies are doing day in and day out, but what you're here for is you want to know how safe is your community and what are things you guys can do together. And all of that is great, but I always tell people the most important thing about Neighborhood Watch is people showing up and getting to know each other as neighbors. Without having that familiarity and connection, none of this would work. And I'm a firm believer in our Neighborhood Watch program because study after study, whether it's here in the United States or in Great Britain where they do studies on the effectiveness of Neighborhood Watch, has shown that it is the most effective and most efficient form of law enforcement that's out there. That doesn't mean you should stop hiring us. Continue to hire us as well. But it is a great way for people to look after each other and stay in contact with us as to what's going on. That being said, I'll end my little spiel here and open it up for some questions, since some of you haven't met me, if you have any questions. And if not, I will leave you with this last bit. We have been hit recently with a bunch of financial crimes aimed at our elderly of the last year. Whether it's distraction thefts at grocery stores, to online or telephone scams. We're seeing a lot of people lose a lot of money. What we would typically do when we see things like that, our investigators get involved in the case and they do their end. On my end, we would put something out on social media, a crime prevention tip to make the general public aware. Our elderly community isn't going to be on Instagram or Twitter, so taking the initiative to go to our retirement homes out here and have regular discussions with them about these phone calls that they're getting, because we're talking about a generation that's going out shopping and they're carrying $10,000, $15,000 cash on them. And I'm trying to get them to break that habit. I'm trying to get them into the mindset of, keep your purse with you. If someone's calling, and with AI now, someone can get a phone call and say that their grandkid is in a jail in Florida, can you wire this money? And we're seeing this happen time and time again. Education is key. So on a regular speaking tour at our senior communities, trying to keep the message going and strong. But we're also seeing check washings made a comeback the last year out here in San Clemente. In my home assessments, I've seen that we have a few mailboxes that are like 4 or 5 community mailboxes posted out there. Some of them aren't locked. And it's the upside of living in a beautiful community that someone is now taking advantage of. So I spoke to a local bank branch. I won't name who, but they said that they were taken for $600,000 in 1 month from check washing. So again, on an education front, I'm telling people do not mail checks from home. If you're going to have to mail a check, do it certified mail, do it through the post office. So if you can, in your all positions and as residents, spread that word out. Do not mail checks out. And finally, if you're going to use a Uniball 207 pen, you can buy one at the store for $2. That pen is the best pen for writing checks because the ink in it is a pigment and it lasts the length of the life of the paper that it's written on. No chemical on earth can remove the ink that is on that check. So if someone wanted to wash that check, they would find themselves hard luck from a $2 pen. So it's a very simple thing, but if you're going to write your checks, I would say just as a matter of good practice, keep that pen in your checkbook whenever you write any check of any kind. Now, that's my last little crime prevention tip for you guys.
So, Brian,
Yes, sir.
We're going to form this subcommittee. What do you want to see addressed in the subcommittee? Because you are our neighborhood watch guy.
Yes, sir. I would love to see, right now where we are struggling is I am getting people that are applying for block captains. I've seen a noticeable dip in the last 6 months, and I know the city has made a change in the website. I still have applications from it, but I don't know if it's also coming because of the coverage we have. We're having some pretty significant coverage from our block captains, but I've noticed a downtick in there. So promoting it at any opportunity would be great. The other thing, and it's more on my end, but if you have solutions, I'd appreciate it, is when someone calls me and wants to start up a neighborhood watch meeting, it's such a dance back and forth because I will tell them, yeah, of course, and I make my schedule open to them. I'm open 5 days a week, and I'll come in on a Saturday morning, whatever it is you need just for me to be there and get butts and seats. And I will get them all the way up to the point where it's now talk to your neighbors and let's set up a location. That always seems to be the hardest hurdle for me because I won't hear back from someone for maybe a month to 6 weeks, which is fine. That's usually where sometimes I will lose potential block captains. So trying to figure out how do we overcome that hurdle as opposed to me just saying, well, I'm just going to pick a date and time and here's where we're going to do it. Because in past experience, when I've set those terms, my turnout has been non-existent. So trying to find a way to, how do I bridge that gap of getting that captain to get to his people as opposed to, me setting it on my terms outside of that.
Besides the city website, where else can we target to promote Neighborhood Watch?
Well, the city's website has it. We have, which is great. Our social media has it. Any San Clemente affiliated places, local businesses could promote it. We're starting up a business watch program in the city here. We've met with the Chamber of Commerce. We're trying to get our foot in the door there and establish a business watch program here. And I'm trying to sell it there. I am literally going wherever I can and promoting it, trying to fill in gaps and coverages where they may be. So if a local business wants to throw out a graphic, they're more than welcome to steal ours. They're more than welcome to repost it. Most of when the applicants or people showing interest that I get that aren't from in-person contacts is usually from our social media. So if people have social media and they want to use it to promote it, they want to go on San Clemente Live and promote it and throw up a link to us or my email. My email's on the business card here. I'll pass it out. People can email me directly, and we can get the ball rolling from there. These are the typical months where I know it dries up as far as participation. With the weather, people are less likely to want to have a meeting right now because they tend to want to have them outside on their backyard or at a park. I always try and work with that, but participation drops from like November to January, February. But then it picks up again in the spring. And then I will lose them at the end of the school year, and then they'll pick back up again in late summer. But it's an opportunity of letting people know, like, here's all the hard work our deputies and investigators are doing, as well as here are all the resources available to them that they don't even know. When I tell them we have an RSVP program, it blows their mind about the things that the RSVP program does, but they all love it in the summertime when I tell them if you're going on vacation, there's a vacation check that we offer for free. So
It's a great program.
yeah, so
I used it, so.
yeah, anywhere I can, I try and spread the word. So if whether it's flyers on business windows to social media, like, I'm all for it. There is no place that I wouldn't say don't promote it.
Now, in your database, you've got emails for all your block captains. Do you also have emails for all of their participants?
Oh yes, so for everyone that attends a neighborhood watch meeting, I have a sign-in roster, which gives me the name, address, email. That's usually information that I will only share with the block captain, but I keep that on deck. And then for like some of our more active communities, I'll have a secondary block captain to fill in if they want a meeting and the block captain can attend. So
How many emails do you think you have in the system right now?
emails,
Yeah.
as far as like block captains in waiting.
No, as far as total able to outreach, with all the emails that you have in the system.
Let me see. Let me do some quick math. 60, probably close to 300 or 400. Easy. That's a conservative ballpark.
Okay, good deal.
So
Have you approached all the HOAs?
no. I tend to find, just honestly speaking, that as soon as I get HOAs involved, it gets messy because they usually talk with like 15 people, and so everything is gone through a committee. So I'll get an email chain of like 25 emails from people, and they're just talking about what we should have for coffee. And that's not an exaggeration. That's just how HOAs work. Second thing is usually HOAs have an agenda that's separate from the residents. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just that when they want me to come and speak for a neighborhood watch meeting, they're looking at things from a certain point of view where I'm here as a service to the residents, and it tends to run into a wall. So I find it's easier if I can deal with a resident directly and they have a more vested stake than an HOA who is looking at this for their own different reasons. But whenever an HOA reaches out to me, I have no problem talking to them and saying, where can we get the ball rolling? I just don't volunteer to like put myself through that.
Anybody else?
Yeah, Brian, I'm sorry, I don't understand this map. I'm hoping you explain it to me.
Yeah, of course.
So I see these different color coding for the neighborhood.
Oh yeah, so the color coding for the neighborhoods isn't from me. This is actually a map I found from the city that shows all the different communities that the city of San Clemente has, which has been very useful for me when someone says, I'm from Sea Point. I can see on the map, okay, they're in this area. And in Talega, you will find that there's communities within communities in Talega. So when someone reaches out and they say, I'm from Talega and I want to have a neighborhood watch, I want to find out which part of the community they're from, so that I'm making sure I don't have double coverage and I'm not blowing them off. I'm saying we already have a neighborhood watch program going. So I try and keep it detailed. The stars are just the areas where we have block captains with active neighborhood watch programs going. If I was to put a dot for every time I went and I did a neighborhood watch meeting that didn't have a block captain just to get my voice out there, there'd probably be twice the number of dots on the map. I don't include them because I still don't have a block captain there to keep it going.
So all these listings under Talega, do they have any relationship to the neighborhood watch?
No, these are all just the different communities that are in Talega. So like if you were looking at the lower right and it says Talega all in red, these are all the names of all the different communities in Talega. And
36 listed.
yes,
Okay,
sir.
got it.
So when someone tells me they're from a certain part, it's just a good frame of reference for me.
Anybody else? Go ahead, thank you for everything you do. You do a great job for us.
Thank you all so much. Appreciate it.
Go ahead, sir.
Hi, sir. Not sure if everyone's able to see this, but there's a glare, but I'll go ahead and hand these out because they're just the same thing. I got the quarterly report for San Clemente Police Services for quarters 1 and 2 of this fiscal year, and we'll be comparing them against the same period during the prior fiscal year. Has everyone got one there?
Oh, I don't know. I'm just looking at that. Yeah, there you go.
Hopefully I don't bore you with statistics, but we'll wait tops here.
Sorry, Adam. Yeah.
So these are calls for service. Our total calls for service for quarters 1 and 2 of this fiscal year is going to be about 13,000 calls, which is similar to what we had the year prior. Slight uptick of about 1% almost. So we're dealing with about the same amount of calls as we did last year. Priority calls, we fielded 144 already for this fiscal year for quarters 1 and 2. Last year, about the same time period, we had 175. So that number has dropped down about 17% since last year. And between quarters 1 and 2, we're seeing kind of a downward trend, which is normal for this year. If you kind of compare, the gold line is going to be last year's numbers, the green line is going to be this year's numbers. So we see as we come out of summer, the call volume starts kind of going down a little bit. We see that every year. Priority 1 calls, you'll see kind of those are the numbers of calls we fielded. Generally, you kind of see that downward trend as well with those numbers. Next slide. For priority calls, that's when we respond to an emergency situation with our lights and sirens, code 3 as we call it. Generally, we want to respond under 5 minutes. This year, during quarters 1 and 2, we've responded all priority 1 calls about 8% of the time under that 5-minute window. Last year we did about 82.8. However, we are responding much quicker on average this year. I think we had some outliers last year where we were tied up on multiple priority 1 calls, so that kind of dragged that number up. But generally we're responding about 15% quicker this year than last year at the same time for our priority calls.
Great response,
So we want to keep it under 5 minutes. The sooner the better. Since we moved the station up here, I think that number's gone up just because we're further away from the freeways. So it's a little hard to get certain places in the city. Where we are better staffed now. We're probably the best staffing we've had since I've been here in 5 years. So we're almost fully staffed at this point, which has helped increase these numbers, and we'll continue to increase our numbers as we go. Yes, sir.
Just for my own edification, so you work 10-hour days or 12-hour days?
12 and a half hours generally is
Okay.
what most people work.
All right. And so you fill day shift and graveyard people?
Yes, we have a day shift and night shift,
Right.
12 and a half hours, and then we have a couple swing shifts in between.
Okay. And per shift, how many deputies?
It's going to vary from shift, but generally it's about we have 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, so about 6 areas that's we're divided up in, and then we also have like other auxiliary units. We'll have a shift leader car, we'll have a homeless liaison officer that comes in, we have a traffic unit, an SRO, which is a school resource officer.
So primarily the calls for service are answered by as many?
Generally about five or
guys?
six personnel, and again, depending on staffing,
Gotcha.
who showed up to work, who called in sick, who's on vacation, nothing could factor a little bit. Traffic collision reports, again, we've seen 139 traffic collision reports in quarters 1 and 2. That's down from 169 quarters 1 and 2 of last year. That's a drop of about 18%. Again, cyclically, we have more people in the city in the summertime. It starts kind of tapering off towards the end of summer. And then kids go back to school, the weather starts getting bad, we have poor illumination when we hit daylight savings time and hours darkness, so those traffic collisions go up. Generally, we're gonna take a traffic report when there's damage to county property, damage to city property, a complaint of pain, or some type of injury.
Do you have any information on the primary collision factor for these traffic accidents as far as, is it speed, is it stop signs?
I don't,
Is it red lights?
I don't have it broken down by that, but if you're interested, I could probably.
I'm just curious what they are for the city.
Ballpark it, like the two that we've run across are distraction and alcohol related. Those are the two that we run across most in our logs. I won't say those are our two contributing factors, but they're up there. They're in the top 4, top 5.
So you're talking about cell phones?
So, oh yes, I would say most people that we see driving out in vehicles today.
Isn't there a new law that just took effect now? If an officer actually sees you touch your phone in the car, they can pull you over and write you a ticket for distracted driving if you merely touch it.
I'd have to look into that. I'm
I
not
believe
sure
it's.
if
I believe it came into effect the first of the year.
Okay.
And I know we have some not so great intersections. Can you tell us the top 2 or 3 intersections that need to be looked at to see if there's any way we can improve them?
I don't have that information off the top of my head. Again, I don't primarily deal with statistics of that, but I can get that information if you were interested in it.
We're gonna say most of Pico, La Plata, that's a lot of areas where we see some stuff. Just because I'm more in the loop on it because I get complaints from residents, and also our motor officers, they conduct traffic surveys. They see where the areas of these traffic collisions are occurring, and then they're doing their enforcement. And on most days, if you're driving down Pico towards the 5, you're going to spot 1 or 2 of our motor officers that are out there. And then in the afternoons, we see it out there. I leave here at 3:30, 4 o'clock every day to hit the freeway. And I can tell you that when I'm driving with the kids getting out of school at that time and their e-bikes, it is kind of it's a disaster waiting to happen. I'm surprised we don't have more accidents out there, because most of the people that I see, they're in the vehicles, they're usually on their cell phones, and then the kids are riding on the e-bikes and they're assuming that the adults are in their cars paying attention, and that's not always the case.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Parking citations. We've written about 4,468 during quarters 1 and 2, which is up significantly, about 37% from last year. That does taper off. We've kind of seen traditionally from quarters 1 through 2. And then as far as moving violations go, we've kind of had a mixed bag here, just because we've had generally 2 motors on staff for the past couple of fiscal years, one of which promoted around September last year. So you can see there's 1 motor working around that time. The motor who took that guy's spot ended up tearing his bicep on day 1, trying to catch his bike. So he was out for most of this year till about November. You see the numbers start to go up. And the motor who was working by himself the previous year ended up catching debris in the face while riding his motorcycle. So he was out for a few months, so for the rest of the year. So that's kind of skewed our numbers a little bit for moving citations, but generally the traffic enforcement units are the ones who write primarily a lot of the traffic tickets, so they account for the bulk of a lot of the moving sites because that's their primary objective. Next slide. Use of force incidents. We had about 32 during quarters 1 and 2, which is up about 52% from the prior year, where we had about 21. Arrests are also up about 2.5%. We had 446 during quarters 1 and 2, compared to last year, around the same time, we had about 435. And those numbers have increased from quarters 1 going into quarter 2, about 7%. Group A and Group B offenses. Group A are generally more of our serious crimes. They're just kind of reported differently, and then Group B offenses. If you think of like your major crimes, that's going to generally fall into Group A. Group B will be those other ones. A lot of these are more like quality of life issues too that we see, and then deal with like drunkenness, DUI, some of the other curfew, loitering, vagrancy kind of violations, disorderly conduct, municipal codes, things like that. Go to the next slide. So our Group A offenses, during this fiscal year, quarters 1 and 2, we had 1,221 of those reported, which is actually down from the prior year by about 9%. So crime, as far as the major crimes, is getting better. It's going down. However, with the Group B offenses, during quarters 1 and 2, we had 559 offenses, up from 468 the prior year, which is about a 16% increase. Now, some of that might be just, you know, as crime goes down, patrol deputies are no longer having to deal with those calls or those crimes, and they go out and look for other crimes, which are kind of more the local crimes, the drunkenness, the vagrancy, the trespassing, the loitering, those kind of things. So that might cause some of those numbers to go up for the Group B, but can't say one way or the other if that's the case for all of these. And then this is the Group A offenses, just like we talked about. It's going to mirror kind of what we see over here with the likelihood of a victim being from a Group A offense. So for this quarters 1 and 2 of this fiscal year, it's 3.3 per 1,000 residents. So 3 1/3 residents for every 1,000 residents. And that's gone down from 3.6 the prior year. So it's a reduction of about 10%.
Nice presentation.
Any questions on anything? I don't have too much in the weeds on the statistics, but
I do for that. So Ryan, the thing you're talking about, that Business Watch, I know of a program that I know works fairly well, but obviously it's something that has to be in conjunction with the Sheriff's Department as far as, well, one of the things we used to do is we would have the patrol officers pick a business in their reporting districts and make contact with the manager or with the store clerk or whatever. Promote the things that you're talking about doing, ask about specific types of suspicious activities or whatever they find out that's going around in their particular businesses, and then we would log that stuff. And then you would be able to tell statistically about how many times you contacted the guy, talk about different things, get that stuff, bring it back to briefing, talk about all the things that you would do, and then see if you could correlate that between what you were being told and then whether or not there was a decrease in the amount of criminal activity that was occurring in those particular areas. And a lot of it, that's why I was very curious as to how many deputies you have on staff, the calls for service that you're handling. So based upon what I'm seeing here, it's not like they're running call to call. It's obviously selective, and you have to work within, you know, what it is that you have and manpower issues and stuff. But I know that this stuff works, and plus, it really does break down that barrier and that stigmatism of the police. All they do is drive around with their windows rolled up and write tickets. If you get out of the car, you're talking to people, you're making things happen, you're finding out things. I think those are all beneficial to what it is that you're talking about and some of the statistical stuff we're talking about. But those are programs I'm sure that the chief would have to start talking about with the people and his guys figuring out whether or not that's something. But I know that works.
Yes, definitely. We had something similar in LA. The problem with the call volume, like you said, the call volume drowned out our ability to have that time. San Clemente is, I think, tied with Stanton as far as like the busiest contract city in Orange County as far as call volume. Not every call is a priority 3 call, which is a priority 1 call. But they do have tons of calls for service. So it's something I think, I'm pretty sure our captain would be interested in testing.
Well, the good thing is that because your priority 1 calls are on a decrease, that's great. Because I'd love to see your priority 1 calls are going down, but your arrests are going up. You guys, that means you're doing more self-initiated field activity, which reduces the quality or increases the quality of life, because the smaller things, your Group B crimes that you're talking about, are all being impacted now because you're arresting the drunks, you're arresting the thieves, they're having time to go do the things that we as a community appreciate.
And it's one of my favorite things in this job is getting them to brag about our deputies, because they are so professional. And when you see most of the deputies that are here, they commute and they deal with the heavy call load. They can go to another city and have it a little bit easier. And they choose to be here and they take a personal interest in it. There's this thing called territorial imperative, and they kind of adhere to that, where they kind of make it their own. So when they do have that time to go out there and do it, and we're having young trainees come in and they're being taught by training officers how to do those observational skills and stops, we're seeing that increase where they're learning a skill that I thought was kind of going away because of technology. You know, you've got flock cameras now, so you don't have to go out and run license plates all day on your MDC, look for a stolen vehicle. It's going to be spoon-fed to you. But they're out there and they're making these stops, and they're at the same time you're teaching your younger deputies what's your reasonable suspicion for conducting that stop, and do you have probable cause and effect and arrest, and what is your legal reason for getting in that vehicle. These are all things that it's a training ground for them out here. And so a lot of deputies that are working the jails right now that want to do field time are understanding that this is a good training ground for it, because you have a good place to get some experience, but you also have good deputies that are vested in the
Sure.
here. So
Makes perfect sense. And it's nice to know that when people know the deputy's name besides the school resource officer,
Right.
because their kids came home and talked about it.
Yeah.
So the guy that's getting out of his car and talking to, the Short Cliffs liquor store guy, or the guy that's running Knuckleheads, or wherever he wants to go contact a business owner and find out. Plus,
Yes,
you can make really good informants now.
I don't think you can find any young person in San Clemente that hasn't gotten a sticker from Ryan. I
That's
think
a
you'd
good
be
thing.
really hard pressed.
That's it.
Also, you had a footbeat deputy for a while on Avenida Del Mar. I kind of remember you took a guy this is a guy kind of work, and after about a month, he said, I don't want to go anywhere else. Okay, does that still go on?
Yeah.
yes.
Good deal.
Our beach patrol deputies, one of the primary responsibilities is also Avenue Del Mar. So they're up and down Del Mar. They're responsible for that area. They're meeting with business owners and.
Good deal. I think that's great.
patrolling it.
Thanks a lot, guys. I'm sorry for us that we took so much time. This was really interesting to have you guys here.
Thanks.
All right, Fire, what's up?
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Shane couldn't be here today. He had a conflict with another meeting, so I'm here on his behalf. My name is Brian Roberts, the battalion chief in the area, also a resident. I didn't bring an assistant, and I don't have a fancy PowerPoint. This kind of got thrown on me last minute, so you can give Shane a hard time about that next time you see
You
him.
will.
That might be a long time.
I know what he did share with me was the last meeting you had. He went over statistics from 2025. So what I have for you is just to go over January for the city. We had a total of 498 calls for the month of January. 6 of those were fires. 352 of those were calls for medical service. And then the other fill in the numbers would be just various public assist type items that are just like a code 2 response. Couple notable incidents for the month of January. There was a working garage fire in the Rancho San Clemente area. Crews got on scene and had heavy smoke and fire from a garage of a 2-story home. Engine 60 did a really impressive aggressive attack on the garage, supported by searching the structure for any kind of residents, any kind of rescues that may need to be made, and did a fabulous job holding the fire to the garage without any kind of damage or extension into the residence. So we're always happy when they employ the tactics that we teach them and close all the doors and whatnot and not let the fire spread to the rest of the house. Second really notable incident was the cliff slide that occurred in early January around Leslie Park area. Crews responded to assess that in conjunction with the sheriffs and city services. There wasn't early reports on that were that there wasn't anybody trapped in that debris pile, but we still employed our human remain dogs to go search the area just to validate and make sure that we didn't have anybody that needed to be rescued or searched for. As far as OCFA updates that would affect the city or interest the city, the helipad that went in earlier last year by Station 59 is operational. That'll continue to be in place and used anytime we have any kind of significant weather events. We're also working with the city for the Rancho San Clemente area up on Ridgeline to place a helipod. I believe Shane has explained to you guys what a helipod is used for. and I'm happy to explain that if not. But it's a water source used by our helicopters during vegetation fires. It's funded by Orange County Board of Supervisor Katrina Foley. They hold about 5,700 gallons of water, and it's got the ability to be controlled by our helicopters via radio to activate it. It's got a self-filling feature, so as soon as they draw water out of it, it fills back up, and we're able to use it repeatedly for the fire. Anything else of note? The fire chief recruitment should start very soon to replace Chief Fennessy. And then, as you may or may not know, the current position is being held by San Clemente resident TJ McGovern as our interim fire chief. I'll open it up to any questions you guys have for me.
I have one question. About 3 weeks ago, during the evening, one of your Firehawks did a couple practice approaches and then landed at Our Lady of Fatima and just ran there for a while. And probably 20 plus minutes later, took off.
And it was ours?
Yep.
Yeah, for sure?
Yeah.
Because the sheriff's has a red and white one also. Can we blame them?
Is that we might have had a rescue helicopter land
Yeah, that's
when we had the.
That's what it was.
So we had a vehicle carrying narcotics that was stopped.
Okay.
Yeah, someone's hiding in the brush there, and we had an injury occur, so they had to land to.
Cool, okay.
See, I redirected and it worked.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
It's not used to aircraft just, sitting there idling. So, okay, thank you.
So Chief, I have one comment for you here. I was the one that actually reported that incident with the slide because I walk the beach trail before sunrise every day. So as I was heading south, it was so dark, I was overcome by it. I mean, I was just all of a sudden it was there, and then I realized how big this thing was. And of course, I'm not very smart. First thing I did was I climbed up on top of it. So I'm up on 12 feet up in the air, and then I start looking up at the cliff, and I go, this is probably not a good idea. So I came down, and then I dialed 911, which I've never done. I got to the sheriff's department, told them what the situation was. They immediately got me over to the fire department. And I had my GPS application up with my GPS coordinates ready, which was dumb, now that I find out. So the dispatcher answered the call, and then I was ready to give him my geo coordinates, and he said, "Oh, just hold on, I'll get him in a second here." And he's counting down. He's 5, 4, 3. He said, "I got him." So you actually, when your location is turned on to your phone, it actually in your 5G broadcasts your long lapse, which I didn't know. The other thing your phone does is it popped up the message after I hung up the 911 call and said, "I'm turning off call blocking for 15 minutes." And they do that in case someone at the 911 center wants to call you back. They turn off all your call blocking, all the numbers you have blocked. That gets disabled, which I thought was pretty interesting. And then your fire crew showed up within, I'm sure, maybe 5 minutes. And I just showed them the thing, and they asked if anybody was hurt. I said, it was such a big mess, I had no idea, right? So, and thanks to you, they cleaned that up.
We're really
within
lucky.
2 weeks. It was amazing how fast.
What's happened in Del Mar and Encinitas recently, we were lucky no one was on it, because that was a big pile of rocks.
It was
Bigger, much bigger than people thought.
Well, and I didn't realize how wide it was. I mean, until I got up there and looked at it. Wow, this is big.
But we have continued to have rocks falling, big rocks, and we can't keep people off the trail. It's unfortunate. I was out there this morning. There's people with strollers and babies, and it's very unstable. So we're doing what we can. We're going to get some K-rail out there tomorrow, and we're going to try to at least keep the trail open. It'll probably be single file a little bit, but it astounds me that people they don't walk through a barrier. We put 2 of them there. And they just move them and
Oh, they
just
knocked
keep
them
walking
over.
through it. It's unbelievable. It's
They were knocked over this morning.
really, really unfortunate that
Well, there's no reason for them to be there. Ridiculous.
but it's unfortunate. But it's still very active. You're correct. It's still
Well, and the worst
there's a
time
couple
people-
pieces up there just wanting to come, and they're big.
The thing people don't realize is the most dangerous time is right now, because what happens is those cliffs, they don't dry evenly. So you end up
Sucks
with
back
part
in.
of it drying and the others not dried, and that's where you get the difference in the weight, and that's when they come down. So those slides tend to happen after, a week or 2 after the rain. So that's why it is a dangerous time right now. For sure.
Also that we live in San Clemente.
Yeah.
All right, anything else? Thank you very much for being here. Of
course.
Thank you for your call, Ron.
I don't see,
Well, thanks for getting it so cleaned out.
Are you guys starting to conduct brush inspections? Is that brush inspections for
Yeah, inspections started beginning of the year. Crews are actively out doing them right now.
Okay,
So
thank you.
Do you get pretty good compliance with San Clemente residents?
well, so resident inspections that would fall on the city. We cannot control what a resident does to protect their residents and what's around their residents. It would be more working with the city for brush clearance and stuff like that. We primarily deal with businesses.
that's interesting. In LA, they watch every resident out there.
Yeah, same with the county.
Especially now.
I just figured that, we did the same thing down here.
We can educate, and we do,
Yeah.
on readiness and things of that nature, but we don't have any enforcement capability for residential.
Thank you. I don't see Captain Merlot here, so, and I don't see Trevor here. Andy, did you have anything to say about park rangers during this? Or?
The only thing I would say is the park rangers has taken a beating the last week trying to keep people off the trail. That's been very, very difficult. So I appreciate what they do. It's not an easy job.
We all do.
And so I just, again, we're going to try to get the trail open as soon as possible. We have no interest and no joy in keeping it closed. It's certainly the heartbeat of the community. But for a few days there, it was a very unsafe situation. I don't even know how. Again, I hope people recognize how dangerous it can be. We've had enough deaths on trails in San Diego County. We don't want to start it here.
Good deal. All right. Sir. Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Nice to see you both.
So thank you for inviting us. I'm Phil Harris. I'm the co-team leader along with Susie Fitch. She is, as a team, we work very well together. When we're out, we get vacations, not paid by the city. We are supporting a full volunteer organization. The city supports us through Rachel Perez. She provides excellent support for us, so we just say we need something and we have it very quickly. So we are a fully volunteer organization, which means we get called out when the city needs us. And we have a group of people. Other than that, that's the only relationship we have with the city is through Rachel. So we work through the Homeland Security for emergency preparedness and response. So I'll give you a little idea of what we are and who we are, a little history as well. Our mission is to do the greatest good for the greatest number of people. And so when there's a disaster, any disaster, we're out there when called. So if we're not called, we won't be out there. But we're there to respond with the firefighters, the police, especially when they're tied up with everybody else, we'll provide that gap. Again, we're not going to be out there unless you call us. So we don't want to surprise the group by leaning over the shoulder and say, hey, we're here, and you know nothing about it. So our objective is to provide some immediate life-saving and life-sustaining needs. So a little history about where CERT all started. Back in 1985, LA provided some residents to a Mexico City earthquake, and we sent a bunch of residents down there and volunteers. Problem was they're not trained. So as well as they did down there, we lost a lot. A lot of volunteers got killed or injured. And so one of the things that LA Fire Department learned was we need to train somebody. So they created CERT. And CERT is now a national organization. We'll just go to any city in the United States and you will find a CERT organization. Okay. So what do? We provide support to our families, to our neighbors, and to our friends, and then the city, and the first responders, the police, the fire, anybody else that needs us. And our emphasis is really on any of the natural disasters or man-made disasters. anything that happens at Songs as an example, or there's a Amtrak crash, we can get involved if called. And so what do we teach? What do we offer? Well, we offer fire safety. We're not fire people, but we do know how to put out a fire, if it's a small fire. We are trained on fire suppression, we know how to use fire extinguishers, we occasionally get to use a fire hose. But we also know when to run and when to get out. We do light search and rescue when called, and we also are aware of and can practice medical assistance. In the case of this case, this picture here, that is a place and how we're shown how to carry a victim. It's a chair carry. And so we don't want to become victims either. Okay, so we have a variety of people who work with us. Within our own organization, we have people who have experience in police and fire and medical. So, organizations. I, for one, used to be a director of quality in an organization. I also ran the safety committees in several high-tech organizations up in Northern California. And so the other thing is, we're a major component, a key component of the Homeland Security. Okay, so how did CERT get into San Clemente? Back in 2010, we were an organization that they called Train and Release. We train and let them go. We didn't keep track of them. We do it a little differently now. We train people and we keep them. Now, part of the training we give is preparedness for disasters. And when you get through the class, you don't get a chance, or you should say, you get a chance to join your city, because we have people from a variety of cities that are in the classes. And we tell people that when they're all done, they graduate and have got everything done, go back to your city and become certified as a CERT member in your city, which means filling out paperwork, doing a life scan. We don't allow anybody under 18, that's a liability to us. When I was in Northern California, we did it. The only way a person under 18 could join us is if the parent was with the group and they had to stay with the parent at all times. Okay. Yeah, so active members, we provide meetings, we provide additional training, and we participate in community events. In this particular picture, I'm giving a training session on the use of radios. We have FRS radios, we have ham radios. Several of us are ham operators. We have 5 of us. I'm one of them. Okay, so this is a map of San Clemente, and each of those green dots represents a CERT member. As you notice, the concentration is around here. We have about 200 members that we've trained. It's probably close to 300 by now. There are about 45 actual members. Susie lives about here. It's probably her, and I live up there. Most of the concentration is around this main part of the city. Okay. All right, so we work with a mutual aid with San Juan Capistrano and Dana Point. And because of that, we are known unofficially, or should I say officially, as Tri-Cities CERT, even though we have an allegiance to San Clemente. So if anything happens here, we'll get called. If we need more help, we'll go to the other cities and ask them. We provide a 20-hour training class. It's free. Anybody who signs up obviously gets this 20 hours. It is over 3 weeks, twice a week. It is typically in the fall and in the spring. We're about to come up with that. And then when they're all done, and we tell people, when you're all done, you can walk out of the classroom just being a trained volunteer for your own safety, your family, and nothing else. You're not a member of CERT. You only become a member of CERT when you get a life scan and sign up all the paperwork that you have to do. But it's nice to know that if you walked up to an emergency, your neighbor, and said, hey, I need help with doing CPR, and they're qualified, they can help you. So it's not us alone out in the field. Okay, so beyond doing disaster response, we get an opportunity to distribute preparedness materials at several events. we maintain booths at special events, and we provide city assistance for blood drives. The music festival, National Night Out, the Ocean Festival, Shamrock Run, and Car Show. And this is Susie and I at Ocean Festival. Typically, we get to help people walk with their baby strollers, but we maintain a pathway for emergency vehicles. So as they go from the Marine Center to get out or go in, we keep that path wide open. And this is National Night Out, which is a great training opportunity for us. Besides handing out all the brochures that we have and samples and a variety of other things, we actually give people an opportunity to know things about where's your gas meter? How do you turn it on? How do you turn it off? When to turn it on? When to turn it off? Where's your water meter? And so we have at our table usually a gas meter. You'd be surprised how many people have no idea where it is, let as much how to turn it on or off. Okay, so you want to know something about us and signing up for the class, you can hit this QR code. It is active. I'll show you a big one later so you can use your phone. We have an upcoming class in 2026 in the spring. It is starting in April. It's going to be Monday and Wednesday evenings, 3 weeks at the Talega Swim and Athletic Club. It starts April 20th. And then we have a final simulation on May 9th. The final simulation is we put people into a real scenario, earthquake, whatever, fire, and we make sure that they can use their skills. And then we do a hot wash after it's all over. And so be surprised how many people have problems with doing something. And so that was to be expected. It's the first time they're now under pressure. They are going into dark rooms, completely blacked out, with only their skills. And we watch it all really carefully. We don't want anybody hurt. So there's always a safety or two person who's an experienced person with them. This is the poster, and you'll find this on our website. Thanks to this lady here, she provided a new look for us. Susie's on the picture. John Gear is one of our members. These are people from the mutual aid group. So we try to get people that you know or have at least know a face if you see them in the city. And when we're all done, we usually get a picture with Orange County Fire because they provide support during. We do a fire. We have a fire, a real fire, and we set it up so that you have to use a fire extinguisher to put it out. And usually it's Station 59 that provides us service. So I thank you for that. Questions?
Just appreciate what you folks do. I know when I lived up in Los Angeles, our neighborhood council funded CERT classes because you can't, we experienced a hellacious earthquake and a couple fires, and you saw those little green hats out there walking up and down the neighborhood. So really appreciate CERT.
Thank you. That's the QR code. If you point your phone at it now, it'll take you right to the page. It should take you right to the page so you can sign up. So I look forward to seeing everybody here.
Thank you both for being out.
Thank you always.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, there she is.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Did everybody get a chance to review the minutes of the last meeting? And if so, can I get a motion to approve?
I'll motion, make a motion.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Miley, do we have any oral communications? Okay. Anything under unfinished business? No. Okay. All right. So, as we talked with Ryan, establish a neighborhood watch subcommittee, and I would like to take that on. Anybody want to help me on it? Okay. And I'm going to, just so I'm not on every committee there is, on disaster preparedness. Mike, what did we get you on?
Yeah.
Is that, okay, I'll pull off of that, and then you and Tom will have that, okay? And so it'll be Jim and myself. And Roseanne. Correct. And, all right. And then we have the epistle to the comedians via the city.
Go ahead, Paul. I mean, Adam.
That was an incredible undertaking on your guys' part.
I just wish it was longer.
Yeah.
I think there was one tree somewhere that didn't get cut down to print it all.
Well, that's part of the brush clearance.
Well, there you go, I like that.
Yeah.
To you, Gary.
Well, thank you, committee chair, committee members. I'm Adam Matami, I'm Community Development Director for the city. Within the Community Development Department, we've taken on emergency planning and the city's emergency management function. Also in attendance is Rachel Perez, our emergency management specialist.
The best.
Yeah, so she got a few kudos for her work with the CERT team. She also helps the local Tri-Cities Races group with their work and a whole host of other things related to emergency management. One of our projects over the past few months was putting together an emergency management strategic plan. This is a document that the city has not really put together in the past. And it was something that we identified as a specific need. And part of that need is due to where the city currently is in their emergency management efforts. So a few things have occurred over the last few years that are worth noting here. The city used to have an emergency management or emergency planning coordinator position. That position ended, I want to say, in 2022. We had contracted a firm to provide emergency management support, and that occurred for a few years with not a lot of measurable impact on our emergency management program. And there were a number of things that were really needed to be done over the past couple decades. One was the local hazard mitigation plan. In order for the city to be eligible for FEMA reimbursement funding for disasters, we need a current local hazard mitigation plan. When community development took that function of emergency management over, our local hazard mitigation plan was from 2004. It needs, in order to be current, it needs to be updated within the last 5 years. So that was the first thing that we did. Going through that process, we got a really good, let's say, bird's eye view of what the hazards are in the city and what's needed to really start addressing a lot of those. So Rachel and I have embarked on a very large grant writing campaign. We're still in the process with a few grants related to wildfire prevention and some of those other types of programs. However, we're also taking stock of all of the things that should be incorporated into an emergency management program, and we've identified that it's impossible to do everything all at once, and so we need to prioritize what our activities are. And so this document before you builds off of the local hazard mitigation plan in the sense of identifying actionable items that the city should be carrying out in the, I'll say, short to mid-term for us, which is anywhere between a year to 5 years or so. There are a few things on this program, the strategic plan rather, that are identified for beyond 5 years. They're not high priority projects, but they are things that are definitely on our radar. The safety element was provided because that is that's essentially the guiding policy document of the city. It is incorporated in our general plan. The safety element says what the city, what the priorities are to the city residents and to the city council, and the things that we should be doing. It doesn't specifically reference an emergency management strategic plan, but it does talk about emergency management planning, and this is a functional document for that purpose. So we're providing this plan now. It covers essentially the gamut of emergency management operations, which are much more than just response. Ideally, we would like to be prepared for disaster so that a response is not as necessary or even warranted should there be things that occur because they've already been mitigated or prepared for otherwise. So the plan goes through essentially the main topics of emergency management and identifies what our approach is going to be over the next few years. And we're excited for any feedback. And our next step after this committee's review is to take it to the city council to present it to them and then continue carrying out. You'll notice there are a few things in the plan that are already ongoing. There are a few things that we didn't even mention because they've already been accomplished. But it does encapsulate the general direction that we want to take the emergency management program over the next couple of years.
Adam, where's the EOC located?
The EOC is located at Building N of the city's utility, or excuse me, yes, it is the utility yard. It's the water reclamation plant down, I believe the street address would be 180 West Avenida Pico. That building is for the utility department. The actual room that the EOC is located in is essentially a conference / lunch room. There's a closet in that room that has our EOC. So in an event, we would need to go down there, and we would need about an hour to pull everything out and set up the EOC. It's not always ready to go.
Is part of your grant writing attempts to secure money and funding to establish a permanent location within this building?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, this building provides a few things that building does not. One, that building is already part of a larger critical infrastructure. So if there's damages or something happens there, it's also right alongside a drainage channel that could be impacted during severe storms. This building is a higher altitude, and so some radio communications equipment here would actually have longer range for connecting with outside agencies. We also have a brand new generator that was installed here that would provide a really good backup system for an EOC here.
Yeah, I can only imagine the traffic nightmare getting in and out of the city yard facility during some sort of natural disaster, and having to ferry administrative people from here to go down there to. I mean, you're talking about hours trying to get something up and running, correct?
Yeah.
And we're already in this building. So
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it only makes sense. So do you have a time frame or a goal or a?
So we are putting that project in the city's capital improvement program.
Okay.
However, the cost of that is more than we have allocated in any particular budget right now. So we're hoping to get grant funding for that, but we might be able to do some of the initial planning and design work for that within the budget over the next year, and then based on available grant funding after that for actual construction. So it's definitely a high priority.
Sure.
A lot of
As it
that's
should be.
just dependent on grant funding.
Is there anything this committee could do to help or assist?
That's something that I know has been discussed with, or at least has been presented to City Council in the past, and they, I believe, voiced some support on that. So they're aware of this project. I don't know of anything specifically that this committee needs to do to help push the project along. We're doing everything we
As
can.
far as the priority goes, I can see where, given what we've witnessed in the last year and a half, something of that nature is so imperative to what it is that you're trying to do here when it comes to that. Plus the coordination with the Sheriff's Department. They're already here.
Yeah.
That and their real-time crime centers, and they have kayak and all the other places that do all of those things. Going into a storage closet in the city yard is not an optimal thing to have you guys do. I sympathize with that.
Do we have staffing identified? Because something could happen tomorrow.
Yes.
So is there people that are already identified? Okay.
Yeah, we do.
Yes. One of the first things that we did was the EOC is stocked with a few critical items. One are like setup instructions, but position binders are a very important aspect of that. Rachel spent a few months updating all of those position binders to reflect best management practices, current trends, and how that information.
Do you have an org chart?
Yes, and the org chart.
For us to see, or?
Yeah, we practiced down there. We've set it up. We've gone down there and worked it through.
Yeah.
You mean a chart as far as?
Position.
The position.
You got position books for people. So where are they in the organization? Who's the main person in charge, and how it all breaks, just like ICS.
Yes, we have that list. I think we can provide it. One of the things we're
There's some personal.
one of the
You don't
issues.
necessarily need names or personal information, but just to see how it's structured out. Yeah.
Yeah, we can provide that. Yeah, one of the interesting aspects of emergency management is that not all of it is public information, because you can essentially you can turn it around and use it for nefarious purposes if necessary. But yes, we do have an org chart. We do have assignments to all of the positions. So
I wasn't sure how far along we have gotten with all this, so other than talking about it, but it looks like we got a lot further than I'm aware of, so that's good.
Yeah.
Perhaps at your next meeting, we could have a discussion about budget and priorities. We're going to be doing a new 2-year budget this year. It'll be adopted in June. And this isn't intended to be a criticism, it's a fact. The city has never placed much of an emphasis on emergency management or preparedness. And so, again, the short message is, and we're glad to come and have a very detailed discussion. I think this particular group needs it probably more than anything else, because more than half of our budget is spent on public safety. So I think it's important you understand how we spend it and where it goes. But the long story short is that the city has developed itself around its budget constraints. And so we know exactly kind of where we are, and we fit in that slot, and we can probably continue to operate the city indefinitely in that realm. What the city doesn't have is enough money for new things. Like everyone, sand on the beach is a good example. Everybody wants sand on the beach, but to just do the small amount we did at North Beach last year, that 37,000 cubic yards, which is just a small amount of money, that was $2 million. So we don't have that in our budget. So again, it's not that it's a priority or not a priority. We have established a budget that works for us if we don't add new things. Well, we haven't done emergency preparedness in the past. I think we need to do it in the future. So we've got to think about either changing some of the services we currently provide or finding new revenues to keep. But I haven't talked to anybody that wants to see the city change a whole lot. We have a great recreation program. We don't want to change that. We have, I think it was mentioned earlier today, for the first time that anyone's aware of, we actually have our sheriffs fully staffed. We don't want to change that. we don't want to change a lot of things that we have, so we're just going to have to think about how we get new things with, and people have talked about how we used to have a Clean Ocean Fund. We used to have the RDA. We used to have these other funds. We don't have those anymore. Now, that's not an excuse. It's just that the general fund has absorbed that, so it's taken away the ability of the general fund to have some extra space to do some new things, because they have done some new things. They've absorbed the Clean Ocean Fund, the RDA, the old street fund that we used to have. All that's been absorbed by the general fund. So I think it's important that this committee have that meeting if you want to. It's certainly.
I totally agree, because, I mean, the liability for not having,
That's the problem, yeah.
I mean, for not
Everyone
having
thinks
a
it will never
plan,
happen,
not having
but it
people in place, you know, there's the blowback and lawsuits against us. You know, you guys didn't plan anything. I mean, this is self-paying for it.
Well, it's not a problem until it's a problem.
Exactly.
So it's,
Yeah. But, come on, we know that there will be a problem.
Yeah, but what keeps me up at night is not anything but fire, to be honest with you. That's what keeps me up at night. In this community, if you look around, it's pretty
And
scary.
thank goodness this last storm we had, those winds were horrible. Thank God it rained.
Those
You
are
know, I
tough
mean, that
winds.
could have been a different story.
But these guys do a great job. We have
Yeah.
crime in the community, but it's not the kind of crime that they have. Again, they called out Stanton. It's different kind of calls. So we have similar number of calls, but they're different kinds of calls. But fire scares me.
Stan's a dump. We're not dumb.
I did not say that. That's not what I meant. But no, we need to do a better job with emergency preparedness. There's just zero doubt. And Adam has stepped forward. Remember, Adam's the community development director, but just saw a need. So stepped forward to do this because it was something that had to be done. And Rachel was voluntold that she was going to help him and has done a really good job with that. So.
Thanks for volunteering. Adam, and this may be the same thing that Tom was asking, but I noticed under the mitigation, the lead, who's the lead, let's just say for wildland, it's EM, Public Works, OCFDA. Again, the EM, Emergency Management, it's not clear to me, who's carrying that ball.
It's not one person, so that's why we'd have to provide you with that. So,
Right.
so I may be the emergency manager, but if I'm out, then it may be Brian, and if Brian's assigned, it could be out. So there's kind of a waterfall, if you will. It's not necessarily one person.
Right, and that's all I guess what I'm asking on this is like if we're going to look at the wildland fire prevention program, who would we talk to? Who's in that so we can kind of monitor, because like OCFA, we just found out they don't even bother with residential.
I want to correct that record, and I'm glad you brought that up. In the context of programmatic or planning purposes, the emergency management would be the emergency management function within community development. So if there's a question on the wildfire prevention program, reach out to me and Rachel, and we'll let you know what we're doing there. Fundamentally, we've put together a wildfire prevention program that looks at using goat grazing, hand crew work, mechanical removal, revegetation across pretty much, I'll say most of the city's open space areas, whether that's public or privately owned. We developed that program specifically for a FEMA grant that we're currently in the process of applying for, which is looking rather positive. It depends on what's going on at the federal level, whether that's going to come to fruition or not. So we can answer some of those questions, and I'm more than happy to come and do a report to everybody on that program specifically. I did present it to the City Council August 19th of 2025, so there's a video of it there as well. As far as OCFA's work is concerned, they've got different divisions that deal with different areas. Rachel and I are hosting a meeting with OCFA on their annual, annual inspection program. It's with their Wildland Interface team, which is a different group. And their program is about doing the annual inspections for all properties that are within the very high fire hazard severity zone. They also do inspections of any areas that have a fuel mod plan, which is most of the ranch areas, especially around the perimeter of those areas. The city coordinates with OCFA for certain aspects of our weed abatement program. The City Council expanded that program last year to provide more funding specifically for addressing areas of that OCFA recommends for defensible space clearing when there is significant brush on public property that the city owns that's within 100 feet of a privately owned structure on an adjacent property. So we'll go in and we'll clear out that vegetation if it's within 100 feet of a private home. So the budget on that was expanded. So the meeting tomorrow is basically talking with OCFA, our weed abatement contractor, utilities, maintenance, the building division staff, just everybody to get on board about those inspections.
But the city doesn't have a program to monitor the structures within the city that are privately owned.
We, as part of the weed abatement program, we do.
You do,
as part of the OCFA's annual inspection of homes in the very high fire hazard severity zone, they inspect. What they don't have is an enforcement mechanism that is between issuing a warning letter and referring it to the DA for prosecution. In that area, what they'll do is they'll refer the matter to the city for our code enforcement to follow up on. We do have codes related to addressing fire hazards, but we need OCFA to say that's a fire hazard. We don't have the independent training to make that determination. Us saying a tree looks like a fire hazard wouldn't hold up in court. So we just need them to identify it. They can provide it to us, and then we'll do the enforcement. Generally speaking, most of the property owners are pretty happy to comply, especially after last January.
Okay.
You want to get in the deer business? Avalon has a huge problem with deer. They're trying to eradicate them. I mean, it's a huge issue up there right now.
Yeah, I've seen some banners
Yes.
Related to that problem.
Maybe we could like wrangle up a whole gaggle of deer and bring them back to San Clemente and let them eat the brush. That's free.
Have them maybe send over the Swift, a couple of the Swift Gator boats, load them up and bring them back.
You don't have to herd a deer. Plus, we're probably going to help the coyote population.
Yeah. So the fire risk is very well known, and we do have a number of avenues to deal with it, both the city resources and the OCFA in partnership.
Adam and Rachel, you've done an incredible job here. Each of these hazard categories is a full report, and there are multiple categories of hazards.
Yeah.
I have a question and a suggested possible addition. Are you able to look at page 4-4?
So that's the local hazard mitigation plan.
Yeah.
That's not the emergency management strategic plan was a separate document to that, but we can administratively update that plan as needed. I don't have that one printed out, but I can pull it up pretty easily.
I'm going to show it to you.
Oh, is that the whole thing?
I do.
All right.
Here, I'll keep the agenda. You can keep that.
I'm just trying to understand on
Right
page
there.
4-4, you have the hazard ranking methodology, and at the bottom of the page, there's a hazard planning consideration. And if the total is a certain amount, then the value is either low, medium, or high. That makes sense. And then the next page, it looks like there's a different.
I'm sorry, you're on page 4 what?
4-4.
Table 4-3.
Yes.
And the next
Turn
page,
it over.
table 4-3, it looks like the total score, it's a different ranking there, and I don't understand that. On the previous page, to be high value is more than 42, but on this table, it's more than 32. So I'm just wondering if that was something I didn't understand, or is it typo or what?
That's something that we could look into. It would take me a couple minutes here to
Okay, I just
orient
wanted
myself enough to give
bring
you
it to your attention. I just didn't
reasonable
understand
response.
it. Then a possible addition on page 4-127. These are the previous occurrences of fires in St. Clement. And I would just suggesting maybe you want to add the fire that we had off San Pablo
4-127.
last year, July 4 fire off San Pablo.
Oh, yeah, just last year.
We could add that next time we update this. This was adopted April 15th of 2020.
So that fire was after this.
Yes.
There's a lot of fires.
That's why I was
Yeah, and one thing to keep in mind, there are some fires that may have been categorized as urban fires, and so under a wildfire analysis, they may not actually qualify. But that one that you're discussing was related to the fireworks.
Fireworks.
Yeah, that one I think we can absolutely add. So I'll look into that page 4-4 question and get back to you on that.
And one of the things that, on the subcommittee of the committee, what we talked about was, you got the evacuation routes and stuff like that, but you don't seem to have any safe zones, which what I'm referring to is if you got something blowing through here real hard and you can't get evacuated, because they used to have people that the traffic's so bad, they don't have anywhere to go. You know, so they get out and try to walk where the traffic's going, but we got areas that could be considered safe zone. We got the Target parking lot, we got Walmart, we got a lot of different places that they can just get into that place out where there's no real fuel to burn and stuff like that, but there wasn't anything like that identified.
So the evacuation maps were recently updated to comply with state laws that required certain updates. One of the issues that we were having with that was that the evacuation routes and any safe zone areas are going to be dependent on what the disaster is. Yeah, so it's a little hard
Earthquake
to.
may be different than a fire.
Yeah,
Well, probably will be, yeah.
yeah. For the general plan safety element updates, it didn't require the identification of safety zones, but that's absolutely something that we would want to look at and put in our.
I just know from the Paradise Fire in Northern California, people getting out of their cars, walking, trying to make it, and they just don't make it.
Yeah.
Same thing in Pacific Palisades.
Oh, yeah.
They had to bulldoze cars off the road
Yeah.
because people did.
And we are the same way, we have one way in and one way out. I mean, there's only two, freeway and, La Plata, really. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the saving graces.
No, it's great. Yeah, great comments, and it's definitely something we'll consider.
One of the saving graces we have in this city is Ole Hansen and the tile roofs. Because we have so many tile roofs here. And you don't find that all over the place, so it's hard for the fire to spread. There is a plus, that's it.
There you go.
All right.
I just have a couple questions, if you don't mind. If you're gonna shoot 300 pages to me to read, you're gonna get me to read them. I've probably spent 12 to 15 hours in these documents, and they are absolutely terrific. The quality of these documents are top shelf. But remember, I'm one of those guys that for a hobby, I try to find typos in the Wall Street Journal. So they're rare, but they do occur. There's a couple things I just have a question about in here. You limited this thing to 50 items, but one of them was not numbered. So there's actually 51 items on the big list, if you know that or not. And one of those in table 4.5 was the train derailment. The human-caused train derailment did not make it into the hazard ranking list as a medium. It's not here. So I just thought, and the reason that concerns me is because I think the train problem is real with our slide problems, right? You know what I mean? It's a concern. That's on table 4-3. And again, you've got the human-caused stuff in here, but train derailment's not in here, so it was kind of missed. The other question I have for you is around the fault lines, the earthquake potential here. So on page 133, in the description of the hazard, it says there are no major fault lines in San Clemente. But if you go down into the summary, it says that the Whittier Fault is located within the city and there's a high probability of, serious shaking. So I don't know, with page 133 and 139, again, we don't need to, if we don't need to do it here in the committee, I can come and see about these, but they're
I'd be more than happy to set up a meeting with you.
to
discuss that.
You also indicated here the replacement value of a lifeguard tower is $150,000. If that's true, I need to go in the business of building lifeguard towers. I think I was at that, it's 15, right?
Well, no.
Is it more than that?
It was about that, but we did get a second bid and we got it down a little bit, but it's difficult when you're paying prevailing wage to do anything cheap.
So the lifeguard towers they're building at Marine Headquarters right now are $150K a piece?
They did not end up being that much, but that was the original bid.
A piece?
Yeah.
You know that encompasses not only the salary of the person that's building it, but then all of the salary and benefits that go with it.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Okay, so.
But I can remember in the late 70s, the lifeguards in the winter actually built those. They had the lifeguards come down and build them, and that was the original plan, so they would.
They built a bathroom at Dockweiler that was $600,000 for a bathroom.
Yeah. Okay, I'll forget these other questions here that we can talk about later if it's important to you to update the doc. But the socially vulnerable population is defined as someone who spends 30% or more on their housing, is a minority and speaks English, quote, not well. I hope we don't underestimate this number because there are an awful lot of people, including my kids, are spending more than 30% of their income on housing in this town. And so I'm concerned that this, you have the census tracts and everything, but I think that number may be bigger if that's the criteria that we're going to use. So I don't know if that impacts your planning. And then one other thing is on the grants. I noticed in the LHMP, 34 of the 51 items are grant funded. And I know you're working hard on grants because of the revenue issue here. Can a single grant cover more than one mitigation item in this plan?
If they're related, probably, but they have to be severely related.
Okay.
And part of that is just because of how grants are typically structured. Is like you have to essentially put together a Gantt chart of like the design and planning and design, construction, and so to have two relatively independent projects tracked together under one grant can be a little
So
bit
I've done some of the work, so I know how hard it is. What's the average time from when you guys open a grant application document until it's funded, typically? Do you have an average time?
Well, we've gone through the process. What I'll say is that San Clemente is a difficult town to get grants for because most of the grants are targeting low-income communities.
Basically too much too wealthy of a community.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, that's the case. What I can tell you is that some of the grants that we applied for were on I'll say a 6-month horizon. We're still in the process with 2 grants. One we should be hearing from soon, if not already. They just haven't awarded anything, and that grant we applied for back in like July of last year. So we'll call that a 6 to 9 month horizon. The FEMA grant that we're applying for is it's for $8.5 million. That grant application was due at the beginning of September. Cal OES, the California Office of Emergency Services, does the first review because they are the applicants of that. We're a sub-applicant under them. Their first review is not going to be complete until probably, I think, April, May timeframe. We've responded to all their requests for further information, and there have been programmatic and budget what they call request for information, and I think it's 3 rounds of each. So we've had 6 rounds of following up and providing more information. They should be forwarding our application to FEMA within the next couple months, and then FEMA has like another 9 months
Just
to
to
review.
go, and you start all over again, right?
Their goal is to get us to a point where FEMA doesn't have any comments. But FEMA's review process is somewhere between 6 and 9 months, closer to the 9 months. So that grant that we applied for in September of 25 doesn't get approved until spring of 27, and the funding wouldn't become available until summer of 27.
So that's 2 years. I figured 18 months.
Yeah.
That's 2 years. Wow.
And FEMA lost 4 weeks a few months ago, and now they've lost 2 or 3 weeks now because they're shut down. So it just puts us out another 2 months.
Yeah.
That's like us looking
Well,
at
and the
the
Trump
housing.
administration wants to blow it up, so, I mean, you're facing that too, right? So.
Yeah.
And then one other question is, do you assign a level of effort to each one of these items and do a work breakdown structure to determine the cost that it would do? For example, the train mitigation and the steps that you would take. Is there? How do you know how much it's going to cost? Each one of these items.
So we have like preliminary cost breakdowns for what we think a lot of these items are going to require. A number of these items are going to be dependent on consultant assistance.
Yeah,
So a lot of the highest priority items like establishing an EOC, we're going to have an architect's help with that and some subject matter experts. Updating the emergency operations plan, that's most likely going to require a consultant. And so it's essentially factoring in what other cities are paying for that service these days.
Okay.
And for everything else that's based on staff time, we've discussed kind of what the work program for that item would be.
And then one final question: if the local sales tax initiative passes, is any of that funding available the purposes of this?
Yes.
The city council would decide that, I would imagine. Eligible, yes. And I would hope this is how the city council would use it.
And who decides? Who decides?
City council.
The city council decides.
The way I understand it, they have identified half of the funding for the beach stuff as very specific. The fire is less specific, so the city council would be left to make those decisions. A lot more of the fire decisions than on the beach.
Okay, is there any way that funding can come this way to solve some of these fire mitigation?
Well, I hope so. That's where I hope all of it goes.
I would think so too.
Again, I feel like when I say this, it sends the wrong message, but emergency preparedness has never been a priority for the city. It's always been somebody else's part of their job. For a long time, it was in public works. It was the city manager. It was part of the city engineer's job. Part of it. Well, when you're trying to keep roads going and traffic and everything else, emergencies, there's no emergency right now, so I'm going to concentrate on this pressure-packed, and Adam in some respects is in the same position. I think he really actually believes that emergency preparedness is more important to the community than community development. I do too. I think we all do. But that daily pressure of getting development applications through the process and all that kind of stuff, that pushes what is actually a way more important issue to the back burner because there's not an emergency today. But at some point, what I think we need to do is we need to have dedicated emergency preparedness.
Well,
Problem
what's
is we
that
have to have
funding for?
the funding for it.
That was the point, right? That's why they took away the position and gave it to him. He didn't want to pay for it.
Yeah.
You folks are amazing.
So
I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it.
Next time you come
It's
in,
our
you're
pleasure
going
to
to
serve
see
the
a
city of
circus
St.
monkey
Clement.
on one side and a bell and a drum. I want to
Well-
see
If the public doesn't go-
blowing a horn because that's what you're doing.
yeah, well, we want to, and I'd love to come back again and talk about the budget. What we love about San Clemente is also what makes it challenging. We love that we don't have a whole row of hotels on our beach like all the other beach cities. That's
Or a
great
mile of
that we have
cars.
homes and we have whatnot. We don't have car dealerships. We don't. So
Right.
we're built different, but we love it. But it does make funding more of a challenge because we don't have some of the financial resources of most coastal communities. That's just math. It's not criticizing anybody because we love it. I wouldn't change a thing. I'm glad we don't. But it does make funding more challenging.
When you talk to the federal government or FEMA for grants and things like that. I'm sure you probably explained it to them, but we may be a city that has average income of pretty substantial, but we don't have the tax base that a lot of these other that you just said. So part of that would be, Palisades didn't have any of that problem either until it all burned down. Now, what's the cost for FEMA to grant us a $7 million grant as opposed to a fire goes through San Committee and takes us out, and how much money does that cost the government? Because the FEMA comes in and they do clean up all the other stuff too, but that's gotta be pretty hefty.
There's a benefit cost analysis that's part of these types of grants, and that required it was a very heavy lift to get that done. But while it doesn't talk about the city's resources in comparison to other cities, it does talk about how $8.5 million today, which would cover a 4-year program, could reduce the need to spend hundreds of millions, if not billions, for
If we have one of those major disasters.
Yeah.
So hopefully they see that.
They do most criteria for grants, there was income related, and I don't know why they picked that metric, but they did. And again, I think a lot of it is there's 483 cities in California, only 61 are coastal cities. Most of them are small, and most everybody else in the entire state thinks these beach communities are rich. But they don't understand the exorbitant cost of being a coastal community. First, just the wear and tear of the salt water on infrastructure and everything else, but the inland cities don't have lifeguards. In the summer, that's our largest department. We have 60 people in that department in the summertime. And they don't realize the extra costs of being a coastal community. That's okay. They think we're rich, and we are. Our residents are very lucky. This is a fortunate community. The city organization itself is what's probably struggling. But no one's complaining. We live in paradise, I have to say. We're just trying to keep it that way.
Absolutely.
But
don't tell anybody.
That's right. Don't tell anybody how nice it is here.
Just sworn to secrecy.
All right. Well, the end of the staff report references requesting a recommendation from the committee to proceed with implementation of the Emergency Management Strategic Plan as a guiding document for the city's emergency management program.
As may be amended from time to time, of course.
Do you have a motion to approve?
What are we approving now?
Whatever.
I was trying to read where you said it down here. What were you talking about? Is it in here?
Recommend.
Yes, at the very end of the staff report.
The staff proceed.
Staff proceed with
The
implementation.
implementation of the Emergency Management Strategic Plan as guiding document for the city's emergency management program.
I'll make a motion.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
By the way, Stuart and Michael, amazing. Great research.
This is
Good job, Adam.
this is really terrific.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Rachel
Good
deserves it.
Rachel.
Good job, Rachel.
Good job, Rachel.
There you go.
You guys ever sleep?
It's all Rachel. Trust me.
Poor Adam.
Mr. Chair, given the time, I'll just go extremely fast through the next one. Staff's recommending that we meet every other month in this room at 3 o'clock. If this is working for everyone, we just want to get that
Can I get a resolution?
canonized.
You Rosemary?
Yes.
Tom?
Great.
All in favor?
Aye.
Done.
Just make up who made the motion. Sorry.
Salas, motion, Hazelton, second.
Correct. Perfect. All right, communications, e-bike safety items.
The next item, we were going to kind of almost finish the meeting with it, and we can. I just want to be able to show you a quick video that we'd love to show maybe to the high schoolers or whatever about e-bikes. It's a way to talk about e-bikes that's not incredibly offensive. So we can show that at the end. You can show it now, whatever you
If you got it queued up,
Go for
let's do
it. Go for it. It's about 3 minutes long, but it's great.
Oh, there's a deer.
In this episode, we'll be taking a closer look at one of the most unpredictable animals in our modern ecosystem. The e-bike rider. Throughout the vast expanse of Orange County they roam, agile, swift, and completely oblivious to the laws of the jungle. Watch as this juvenile makes the dangerous decision to leave her protective shell. And these trusted packmates foolishly attempt to ride the same battery-powered steed. Or, most perilous of all, this adolescent swims upstream against the metallic stampede. Due to this total disregard of their own survival, the species is facing extinction. Yet, evolution has provided them with the tools necessary not only to live, but to thrive. Today, we follow a particular adolescent exploring the urban savanna for the first time. Observe the inconspicuous plumage. Meanwhile, his more mature brethren know the vibrant colors, signaling their presence to potential mates while warding off collisions with larger, faster-moving creatures. But much of the tension in this delicate ecosystem comes from encounters between the swift, wheeled fauna and their bipedal counterparts known as pedestrianus. When encountering animals traveling on foot, the e-bike rider must gracefully heel, lest it provoke the fierce displeasure of this slower yet surprisingly tenacious competitor.
Get off my line! Get off my line! Give me your space! It's a space!
Venturing outside his natural habitat, walking areas require constant caution. Today, our young male has endured 2 harsh lessons. First, amateur biologists often confuse the e-bike with its far more dangerous kin, Motorcyclus electrificus. Second, breaking the laws of the jungle can result in a culling of the herd. Lastly, let us not forget the impressive heft of this metallic species. We return to our adolescent friend as he hunts for the first time astride his deceptively heavy symbiotic companion, unaware that their sheer mass requires a greater stopping distance than anticipated.
Daniel, are you okay?
So, the unsuspecting prey is swiftly felled by the e-bike rider. A stark reminder that in this habitat, endurance is essential. I need a medic! Ensure the survival of the e-bike species by visiting octa.net/e-bike.
Anyway, we should probably get that out to the high schools and whatnot, just for the, to get the kids, because it's not a no, it's just maybe a little bit more, get them thinking a little bit, so. We just thought we'd show you, because I thought OCTA did a really nice job putting that together.
If any of them know what the savannah is.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
I think they've all watched David Attenborough.
I was gonna say,
For the last 4 decades.
they don't rip him off too much.
That's great. Community safety and welfare items.
I didn't have anything. Thank you.
Okay. Subcommittees. Homeless. Tom and Gary.
Our task on this
I'm
committee.
sorry, Stuart.
Our task in this committee is to find the barriers to housing and then try to remove those barriers. And so we thought the best way to do that would be to have the outreach team identify individuals who would be open to us interviewing them, and have the outreach team introduce us to them so they would trust us. The outreach team has identified some individuals, and we're currently waiting to do those interviews.
Great. I saw 2 gentlemen today that obviously homeless, but that I'd never seen in town before, which was kind of interesting. They were going south on El Camino Real, crossing Avenida Del Mar. I drive around a lot, so but I never had seen these 2. So we may be getting, some more influx. That's a great idea. Anything else?
No, Carly had kind of indicated to me that with that point in time count, which we don't have the numbers on yet, that this is alleged, we don't have real proof, but that some cities were dumping
down here.
sending people down here for sure why.
Well, let's find out how they're doing it. We can send something back.
Well, that's what they're sending them on the bus.
Yeah, but it's that's why you,
tactics, right?
They just put them on the bus and they kick
Yeah.
them off here. 'Cause
Yeah,
it's-
they kick them off down there.
Last
so
stop.
She was putting
Right.
them back.
We have a
Really?
train platform.
Yeah.
right. So it's like
A new shipment every day.
yeah. So I'm trying to just
Here's the one
round them back up and
That's
get
what
them
she was
back.
doing. She was
Yeah.
sending them back, shipping them back, because you can't be walking around with suitcases.
Yeah. So anyway, that's why sometimes you'll see little upticks of stuff.
Wow.
Because of that.
Maybe we can get the bus stop one more down somewhere.
Well, and it's,
Maybe we
and
get
again,
e-bikes. It
It's not
seems like.
intended. It's not intended to be inhumane. The reality is that we don't have the services. We don't
Right.
have any of the services that they need. So they're just going to be better off in a place that has those services. And we don't have enough homeless to warrant the services. So
Right.
it's kind of a difficult thing. We're not trying to be inhumane. It's just
Right.
they're better off where they can get help. So we don't have.
Okay, Tom, Rosemary, and Gary, fire mitigation?
Did you get the thing from OCFA? Kind of what we talked about was, what these guys were saying is that from the last 3 or 4 big fires, the number one, what was showing up on the report was lack of preparation. And so this OCFA, they've got a really detailed, balconies and decks, Ember Aware, before wildfire, everything you should do, your defensible space. I mean, if you go through and click on each of them, it's in detail. And maybe we can
Why don't we just send it out to everybody?
send this out to, can we send it out like, maybe to presidents of all the HOAs and kind of do a letter like, hey, we're starting to look, we want to become a Firewise city. There's great information, have them send it out to all the residents, or can you send it in bills? Like if you send the link, I mean, if you click on, a home assessment flyer or whatever, and you click it and it tells you, it gives very detailed information.
Yeah, let us brainstorm how we can get this out to as many people as possible.
Actually, you know what, there's probably 8 management companies that manage all of the HOAs in this area. And if we can figure out who those are, I'll give you one, Cardinal Management in Santa Ana, and get this to them and try to get this to, out to their boards. I mean, that's better than, that's easier than contacting every HOA here. And I mean, then they bring some value to their HOA and kind of, quote, earn their fee.
We are eventually, Andy, wanting to be a Firewise city, correct?
Well, Firewise is actually for private property owners, so
Okay.
each HOA wants to be Firewise because it can help not only retain, but maybe even lower a little bit fire insurance. That's important.
Right.
Okay. So, I mean, this may be.
Keith Adam probably knows more about than I do, but that's a
No,
10-second.
Yeah, that's accurate. So some of the grants that we have include like public outreach for this kind of effort.
Uh-huh.
So this is something that's part of our emergency management.
Okay.
So if you want to just email me this, we can include it in other information that we'll be pushing out to the.
Okay, because I mean, there's great information on here, like your home hardening, what you should be doing, and a lot of people, like I drive through my neighborhood, and you've got trees covering roofs, and it's like, they probably aren't even aware. So.
Yeah.
Yes, it's true.
My wife is aware. I've been doing some.
All right.
Oh, okay.
Park Ranger Program, Jim and I have, think that the training is, the first aid and everything is going to go forward between Rod Merlot and Trevor. They were going to assign somebody to do the classes. All right. And the second thing, did you ever get a chance to review that program?
I did. I have it sitting on my desk. I have a meeting coming up with Trevor. Trevor's been the fortunate recipient of a new child, so he's been out a little bit lately. But yeah, we'll be connecting on that.
Does that look good?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. It was very good. It's sitting right next to my phone.
Good deal.
I forgot to bring it down.
Because I think that would improve their
I think so.
abilities.
I think so. Yeah, it was a fairly detailed
They
list.
have a lot of time that they're wasting now on paper.
Right.
Great deal.
Yeah,
All right.
that was great.
Anything else, Jim?
No, obviously with the trail management stuff that you've been talking about, they're just getting their butt kicked, and
It's been really tough down there.
it's always something, so.
You know, Andy, have you thought about asking RSVP to kind of go down there when they're working?
I wouldn't do it.
Oh, you wouldn't?
I was down there this morning. I was just shocked at people. I was shocked.
At how rude people are? Really?
Yeah, I'm not sure I would put RSV people in that
Okay.
position. I was stunned at people's defiance and their language. And
What time is that? What time is that?
8 o'clock to about 9 o'clock in the morning.
The trail monitoring the
trail
slide. They don't want people walking through there. Wow.
Really, Andy?
Oh, they just move the barriers, and then, you try to say, hey, the trail's closed, and I'm not sure I put them through that. We're going to have by the way, I didn't mean to be disrespectful. I was getting texts about the trail, and we're going to have the K-Rail out there on Thursday morning. So once we have the K-Rail in there, we think that will capture at least those basketball-sized ones. Now, there's one piece up there that's really perilous, and it's big. And the K-Rail's not going to capture that. But the hard thing with it, that's San Clemente, right? That could last 10 minutes, or it could last 10,000 years, and we just don't know which.
Are we gonna put signs up, enter at your own risk?
We already have the signs up.
Okay.
So any of you walking on the trail, by the way, you walk right by a sign that says,
Yeah.
And please.
He's probably showing her that picture of the one rock that just wants to go. It's just sitting there.
That's pretty gnarly.
You got to climb up on top of that?
Well, that's why we. By the way, the next morning there was a lot of debris on the trail again. That slowed down a little bit, but that thing still.
Would you knock this down as a preventative measure?
Well, the problem with it is it's clay, so you don't know how much it's going to bring with it.
What else is gonna come with it?
Yeah,
That's what you worry about for sure.
Sure.
Mike got a picture of himself on top. I'm king of the rock.
Yeah, that's right. If that one comes down, I won't climb on top of it. I promise you guys.
And
I just
Andy,
hope it doesn't come down on top of someone.
and Andy, we appreciate the fact that you're one of the busiest guys in the whole world, and you sit in this meeting. So don't apologize for watching your phone. Okay?
Well,
Please.
That's right.
End this conversation.
yeah, okay, fair enough.
Vehicle and e-bike safety
the
programs.
humanitarian award. Just
Oh,
real
I'm sorry.
quick,
I'm sorry. You're right.
I contacted the counselor at San Clemente High, and we'll have our award winner by the end of April. And then we award them August, that second council meeting when they start right back to school.
Yeah, that was great. And that's right when we come off our summer
Yes.
break too. So yeah, it's
So
good.
that's in the works.
Good deal. Vehicle and e-bike safety.
Okay, so we couldn't we found a video also. It's put out by Irvine Police Department, and it's geared at the parents. And it actually shows accidents, but it covers the person's face. And I actually showed it to the principal at Shore Cliffs, and also I happened to be at a function Friday night at Our Lady of Fatima, and both of them asked for us to bring in that video. And Shore Cliffs has, I think they said 75 kids that are registered riders, and he's gonna bring them all in at a certain time. He wants the SRO in there, he wants to show the video, he wants her to talk about the rules, and then he's planning on sending the video home to parents. Because it's really the parents at the junior high, they have to make them aware of the rules of the road. So those two schools, and then Lisa Davis, I talked to her and she said for me to call Talega Junior High, and then also BAMS. If we can't get in, she'd help us get in there too. So then right as I was starting the meeting, the SRO called me. And I'm like, who's from City of San Clemente calling me? And she was right upstairs. And I had sent her an email. She said, just get dates with them, get it a little bit out. And she was working on some video also. And she said, get me dates and then we'll make it happen.
I don't know if Captain Chevalier has talked to you, he really wants to do a full court press on this, and he wants to do a program in the schools and stuff. I don't know how much he's talked to you about it, but he's serious about it. So I don't know where exactly he is in that process, but I know he's pretty serious.
We're about to start a writer diversion program for.
That's what she was saying.
Yeah, so she's heading up that program. She's about to launch it, I think, in the next few weeks or months.
Yeah, that's what she said. So she said for me to set these dates maybe a month out, and she'll be ready to go. Whatever dates they want, she'll be available.
So I believe this is geared towards, students who've been issued a citation for some type of e-bike infraction or whatever the case is, and to bring them and their parents to kind of divert this away from some type of criminal angle to more of a educational.
Are there, what's the number of citations that you guys have?
For e-bikes, I don't have the number off the top of my head.
I don't know, if it's not a lot, they're not gonna be able to worry about it.
It's
But
growing.
If it gets
It's
big
gonna
enough
be
that people get their attention and talk to each rider, the word spreads.
Yeah.
And don't do that, because you're gonna get ticketed, you're gonna lose your bike or whatever it might be. I don't know what the enforcement we can do on that.
It depends on what a lot of these bikes are electric motorcycles. They're
Yeah,
not
okay.
technically bicycles. They don't have
I
this
think
stuff.
what Rosemary and I are talking about as far as this video. Do we have it?
No, she couldn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I sent it to
this
you.
is more of a preventative thing. It's more of an educational thing. Yours is more of a after the fact enforcement thing, dealing with this is what's going to happen next. Correct?
It's geared towards education. So bringing in those elements,
Yeah,
to
but I mean,
making them
the people
aware
that
of.
you're talking about are the ones who've already received a citation.
Yes.
Okay, so that's after the fact.
Yes.
What we're talking about is something that encompasses all of the riders at all of the schools, and to show parents the implications of what it is that they have assumed by giving their these bicycles to their children, and not knowing maybe what some of the consequences are of what it is that they're doing. And right now, my only concern is that I'm not sure whether or not Irvine has copyrighted this.
Right,
Their
that's what she's-
video, which would be prevent us from doing it unless we got a waiver from them in order to
The
show.
city made it. Cities can't copyright, so
Well,
they're easy to plagiarize.
well, that's true for certain programs. I don't know what it is.
Right,
that they
right.
do.
No,
But,
all
I've been
kidding
down this
aside.
road with Coffee with a Cop forever, okay? Because we started it, so I know what I'm talking about here. But I don't know what they have, and so if we're able to, I can't imagine that they wouldn't allow us to use it. That would just be.
Let us know. We can get in touch with either their city manager. or
Yeah, that
if
might be-
you-
that
if you
might
get
be-
a-
I'll send you the link to the video.
But it's.
It was very effective. It's very effective. It shows probably 20 crashes. I mean, just every angle, the kid riding across, not stopping at a light in a car and right into it, but it blocks
They
the
actually went out.
kid's face.
They actually went out and researched every accident that they had and got video footage of the accident, and then blurred out the kids. So we're not looking at this. Isn't blood on the pavement from 1963 for drunk drivers or whatever. This is
Remember that?
absolutely.
The principals at both schools were like, because I said, is this too? And they're like, no, the kids need to see this. And then the SRO, we want her in to talk about the dangers and what are the rules, what are the laws. These kids don't know. They don't have driver's licenses. And then they're all willing to send it out to the parents, which is who we need to really target.
Rosemary, would we be able to, and everybody here, I'm just saying to you, would we be able to maybe partnership with these schools and get them to have a rule that you cannot park an e-bike on campus unless you have passed a certification class, they've taken these type of things, and the parents would have to also watch that video, if you will, or something like that. So that way, when they're letting their kids ride their bike to school, you can't bring it onto campus. You can't bring it into campus unless it's licensed. So
there's a lot of discussion at the state level right now about licensing e-bikes and just what that looks like and who can ride them, who can be licensed, and
I think that's great though.
I think everyone's
it'll just
along
be a
those
sticker.
lines, having those
Just a
steps.
sticker on the bike, with a expiration date or whatever, And, you know, but your parents have to sign off on it, you have to sign off on it if you want to bring your bike to school.
I think there's a way, you know, you have a parking pass to park at the school.
Yeah.
So you could probably have a pass to park your bike there as well. We just need to probably work through the details.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can't just take a car onto campus. You have to have a parking
Yeah, well, I
pass.
know at Short Cliffs, he said they have, I think it's 75, I forget what he said, registered e-bikes. So they know who the kids are. So maybe they've
Maybe the
already
school's
done
already
something. Maybe
requiring
they've done
some
it.
sort of a license.
Fatima, she said, none of them ride here, they're not allowed, but she goes, I want the program shown because they ride at home when they go
But
home.
what Gary's talking about though is, you know, they're just wanting to know how many bikes are on their campus for liability purposes.
They're full. I know the
Okay.
high schools,
Yeah, but what
corral
Gary's
is
talking
completely
about
full.
is
They've
an
told me.
educational program
Right,
saying that you
yeah.
can't bring it on there unless it's no different than a hunter safety course or
Yeah.
driver's training to get a driver's license.
Right.
It's the same concept.
Yeah, I like the idea.
I do too.
And I know when I worked with Tyler last year, and he's not here as the SRO, he said that junior high level kids were the most disrespectful to him about it. Yeah, he said high school, most of them don't ride.
I don't think we need to do a
Pretty
study
much-
for that.
Pretty much all, they're driving, yeah, their cars by their legs. and
Those are
it's
the ones
just-
that put their hand up?
Yeah.
To say hi?
You're number one.
Yeah.
Okay,
They tried us to chase them.
I think that's some great advice.
Yeah.
Brazen, very brazen.
Yeah.
Parking on public streets in excess of 72 hours. We have one very vocal resident, and I think that you two have talked about something.
Well, I mean, I went out there,
Yeah, you did.
Rick asked me to go out there, open a can of worms, the guy kept emailing me, call me, I'm not calling, but anyway. We spoke with the owner, he happened to pull up, and there was no one else on the street. I mean, you can't make him move his car, we can't transfer that issue to another neighborhood, or, you know, what did he want it, a mile away or whatever? I mean, there were no other cars on the street that day, so, I mean, I was just like.
And it's using up a lot of this deputy's time, okay? Marking it and stuff.
Well, I don't believe that the purpose of any committee or the city council or anything is to appease the wishes of the individual. It's the masses. And this is an individual problem. Let's
Is
just
this
call
an
it-
extension from the presentation from last?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's just call this what it is. This is one guy who doesn't like his neighbor, doesn't like what's happening in front of his neighbor's house. It's not even his house that the truck's parked in. Let's be clear about this. And it's currently registered and it runs.
But did that item come to the committee here at the recommendation of the city council?
No.
No, he
Oh, it
came,
didn't?
he just approached.
He just approached it.
Correct.
Public comment.
No.
It went to city
He already
council.
went to
they
city
sent it back
told
to
you to
us.
come
Oh, that's
here.
right. He
Yeah.
did come
Send
to
it
the
back
council.
We do have it.
Okay,
Yeah,
well
so-
then, can't we just take an action item that we advise the council as a group as to whether or not we believe that there should be made any changes to the city or whatever?
Absolutely. I just want to say a couple of things here. Number one, we have we talk about revenue and we talk about expenses, correct? And the city, I don't know, what's the budget for street sweeping? What do we pay for street sweeping? Do we know right off the top of our head?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay,
I don't know
but
that. Yeah.
round figure, a couple $100,000
I do know,
maybe?
well, I do know that they're talking about it becoming $1 million. Right now, it's about
well,
500,000.
So
we're trying to
basically-
decide whether or not to
yeah.
bring it in-house,
Talk
but it's a
about-
lot of money.
You talk about moving money around to do certain things. We're paying $1 million to sweep the middle of the goddamn street because we don't require cars to move.
Oh,
How efficient is that?
I was gonna say, what are you talking about? Oh,
We're
yeah.
sweeping the middle of the
I get it
street.
now.
We're sweeping the middle of the street. We don't write tickets.
ticket
We don't have people to go out there and follow the street sweeper to write tickets.
We do.
You do,
We do.
right.
Only
We
in-
do that. We do make them move. There are streets that do require.
Okay, so
We should
how
do it
many?
the Newport way, where they bring the tow trucks in and they
Yeah, so-
just haul them away.
Our recommendation is that we implement the street sweeping ordinance here, and it's every once a week. Your street is swept, and you have to move your car. And if you don't, then someone writes you a ticket, and then you go on. That will take care of this guy's problem. It will force people to have to move their cars every once a week, whether you move it from the left side of the street to the right side of the street, regardless, or put it in your driveway, and then the street sweeper goes by and you put it right back on there again?
I can see how that would work in Short Cliffs, but I don't know how you would ever do that in the west city here. With
That's
the
where
cars.
What is the issue? He's concerned that his neighbor's parked in a certain
His
spot. He
neigh-
doesn't like it there. That car.
His neighbor's parked
He
right.
parks, his neighbor parks his car in front of his house, not the guy that's
On a public street.
On a public
On a
street.
public
This has been going on for, this has been going on
He
for
doesn't
10
want,
years.
But-
so he doesn't like the 72-hour rule.
So he just, yeah.
He wants you to make it 24 hours, and he wants you to move your car a mile and a half away. So I told him, I said, well, guess what? All the people that live in Talega are gonna bring their car down and park in front of your house. So the same car, you'll just have a different car in front of your house. And then that guy's car is gonna go up there, and then we'll just do, the freaking Johnny
And
thing. It's just,
I think it's
a
become that
ridiculous
now,
thing.
it's definitely become like this, so when you go out and talk to him, he got his keys, he moved it an inch. I mean, he moved it, there's nothing that said, right?
So we'll go out, we'll mark the tires, and then they gotta move outside of that spot within 30, I think it's 3 days. essentially.
Right, but he
This
does.
guy's
He
As long as he does that, then.
Yeah.
Well, he just moves it up,
Yeah.
or then
As
he
long as
moves
it's
it
outside
back.
of the chuck marks, then.
Yeah.
But your deputy would do much better things with his time than following up on this guy. And by the way, we do write tickets on street sweeping, and I got one, and I had to fight it because when Rare Society came in, they did some work on the street that backs up there at Cabrillo or something, and there used to be, when you came out of the library and turned eastbound, there was a sign, no parking on street sweeping days. Well, they did not replace that sign when they did the work. And I got a ticket because we were looking for a place to park, drove through the library and parked, okay? So.
Mr. Chair, everyone's got a story.
They do write tickets.
No, I said everyone's got a story.
No,
it's true.
One time at band camp.
I sent pictures of it.
I don't know what the solution is with this, because it's again, neighbor against neighbor, it's gone on.
You know, I've said
for a
this, and
long
I
time.
hope no one takes offense. One of the things that's interesting in San Clemente is there's been times when we've been galvanized. The toll road, for example, we were all galvanized and we were all together on that. And when I was in Imperial Beach, trust me, water quality was kind of an issue, and everyone's focused on that. San Clemente is such a great place. We kind of have to create problems to talk about. And the problem when you create problems is that there's no solution to a created problem. So, whether or not the guy can park a car in front of his house on a public street for a couple of days, and I don't know, we've already had a city council discussion about it. We've had a discussion here. So sometimes we seem to create things to be problems.
So why don't we just leave it alone?
Well,
Or go
that's
on
what we
for 7
did.
years?
That's what we did about 5 years ago. This is not new. This is years old.
Yes. So if I can, the city council is expecting a recommendation of some sort. I think all the points raised about changing the 72-hour limit make perfect sense. Even if we required somebody to move an eighth of a mile, if they just drove an eighth of a mile and then parked in the exact same spot, they'd be meeting the code.
Yeah.
So I will say staff is supportive of what you're saying here.
But see, the problem with that is how do you verify that?
Well, why don't we just make a recommendation to the council that we don't recommend any changes?
That's what I'm saying, but also, I actually really like the idea, because I've heard it before, about the street sweeping in various areas. Short Cliff has been an issue because there are no signs that say move your vehicles. And vegetation growing over the curb is something that code enforcement spends quite a bit of time every year dealing with. We get a lot of complaints, especially in that neighborhood.
Sanji.
So you're telling me the reason you guys give me all those citations is because I'm not parking my goddamn car on the street so it can block the growth going over the curb? Is that what it is?
No, you're not mowing your lawn.
Yeah, exactly. No, I don't have lawn. It's the ice plant. I'm teasing.
It's the ice plant.
Yeah, I'm teasing. That's why I parked on my car so you couldn't see it, and I would get it. That's what I'm trying to say.
There you go.
Right.
That's one way of getting out of a ticket.
Well, if you park on the curb a little and just cut it.
So
I like that.
Okay, so what do we want to recommend?
Probably, I think we vetted, so this was maybe 2 years ago. Adam did a deep dive into parking on the street, and it wasn't necessarily for the parking we're talking about, it was more the RV issue. So we addressed the RV issue and we updated that, and at the same time we reviewed all of our parking on the street. And again, I don't mean to speak for Adam, but I would think we're looking for a recommendation that to keep things the way they are. I think we did a lot of study on it, and I think we landed in a really middle of the ground spot. We did a lot of work on it a couple
You know,
years ago.
again, I don't have a problem with that either. But if we're paying money for a street sweeper to sweep a street and he can't sweep it because there's cars parked there, how efficient is that? You're
It's
talking about allocating money to places that it's going to be used appropriately. I don't believe allocating $1 million for a street sweeper to sweep the yellow line in the middle of the street is efficient.
Are the street sweepers sweeping the entire city?
Yes,
Or
some
are they
areas,
just,
some areas
just
get
the
swept, some areas get swept more than others, but we do try to sweep the entire city. So what
Well, then
happens
totally
is there's some areas that
legit.
have the signage that you were talking about.
But I don't
And in
think
those
short
in those
stuff.
areas, we follow the sweeper, and they give tickets if someone's parked there. Not in the neighborhoods. In a lot of the neighborhoods, we don't put up those signs because people don't want a lot of signs in their neighborhood. So we don't put up the signs that you must move your car or you'll be ticketed or whatever.
Right.
And that eliminates their ability to give a ticket if there's not a sign on the street.
Well,
So there's been some talk. Let's put up signs all over town, and other people said we don't want signs all over town.
Well, you know what, if you don't want
kind
signs,
of this
pay
balance.
extra for street sweeping. Or
I
you
used to
won't
get-
sweep the street.
I used to get an email twice a month saying, we're gonna sweep your street.
I think
If
we
you
still
don't move
send
your
those,
car.
don't we? We still send them. Doesn't mean people do it.
Well, I stopped getting them.
I stopped getting them, I don't get them.
But I used to
I
get
do our
them,
neighborhood.
and it would warn me if I didn't move
Twice a
my
week.
car, or if I had a car in the street, I would get a ticket. So I knew about that, even though there was no sign.
Yeah, but we have older people here, and I mean, I know in my condo complex, we've got 4 people out of the 90 that don't have a computer.
Yeah.
Okay, they're just that age, and they never wanted a computer. And so all of our correspondence has to be, so it'd be great, to be able to notify them that way, but
Yeah, that may not work.
I don't think that would fly. But,
They have a phone?
and signs are expensive.
It'll take a little bit to get the signs in, but
Well, the issue brought to us was this man's
That's
solution
right.
to
That's
his
right.
problem.
Right.
And,
Well, no, we need to,
right,
we
so
need to come back to the
my
city.
recommendation is what Mike's saying, and that we just take no action because it doesn't make any sense. But the mayor was pretty, he'd like to see something done with street sweeping. He feels we're absolutely wasting money sweeping the middle of the street. And I speak to the guy every time he comes through Shortcliffs, like, dude, you gotta be kidding me, man. You're just going down the middle of the street. And he goes, absolutely. He goes, I'm like this. That's what I'm doing all the way around. I mean, that's just totally inefficient.
yeah, we'll look into that. You're correct. Different issue that was brought to you, but
Right.
it's something
Correct.
definitely we're
Yeah,
looking
so
into.
as far as the issue that was brought to Adam, that was brought to the city council, that was brought
He
to
was
us.
asking us to move and make the ordinance, we move it a mile. I say no, I don't agree with
I
that.
think
Because
the
all we're
ordinance
doing
that's in there, and
is
if the
switching it
sheriff's
to
department
someone
gets
else's
tired of going
problem.
out there and dealing with this guy, then that's an issue that they can deal with him.
Michael, what's the motion now?
So, well, we don't have one,
Okay.
okay?
I
So,
move that it stays the same.
Second.
and again, just as far as conversation, the city council wants us to do something, wants us to suggest something. Why don't, would you accept an amendment to your motion at this time, and we are gonna research, other issues ongoing?
I think doing nothing is something.
Well,
We've looked at the policies and the regulations and what we do. They got, if it's not 72 hours, right? And then you're marked and you.
So someone calls, generally we show up, we'll mark the tires.
But this
We'll
can't-
box them, we chop.
We can't force somebody
Well,
to move their car a mile away.
wait, one
How would you
person at a
enforce that?
time.
You can't, I don't know. You
So,
can't.
I mean, you could do a short distance, 25 feet or something, but. then we
But
have
you
to
do
go
25
take
feet,
measure
he's
out.
just gonna move now up in front of the guy's house and really tick
And
him
then
off.
we're not gonna necessarily come right back with that window, so he may move 25 feet and move right back to where he was at. How do we enforce that? So unless he's parked right back into the chalk tires, like,
I mean,
the
this
chalk
seems to
spots.
me to be a neighborhood dispute between
No,
two
it is.
individuals
Well,
that's
it is.
lasted for 7 to 10 years.
But again,
And I guarantee you, if
the
it was a
mayor-
Mercedes sitting out there, it wouldn't be an issue. It's because it's a real old
And,
car.
oh, by the way, just to add context to him, the guy says, that's my son's truck. He's away at college. He's not allowed to have a car on campus.
Yeah. so-
I pay the registration, the insurance and everything, just so when he comes home, he has a
Car to
vehicle to
drive,
drive.
yeah.
So I mean, it's like,
We've
give
all
me a
been
break,
there.
dude.
Yeah,
I mean,
we've all
come on.
been there.
Other than he's handicapped and blind, he couldn't be any more.
So
Okay,
on your
so,
substitute motion, you're asking us to do nothing with that, but continue to look at
no,
things like
he
street
did
sweeping?
not accept
Oh,
my.
okay.
He didn't accept my motion.
I just asked if you could amend it, okay? But if you don't, that's fine.
Well, maybe amend to what Andy is suggesting. Go ahead.
Do nothing but research street
If you're
sweeping.
telling me that that's a concern from the mayor, we might as well save some time and start looking at street sweeping rather than wait for it to come down from the council. If you want us to take a look at better ways to be more effective in our street sweeping, we're going to be looking at it because the contract is going up so much that we're going to have to make a decision. We're probably at a decision point where it may be cheaper to buy our own sweeper and do it in-house. That's kind of where that's how close we're getting on this. It used to be cheaper to contract things out, but with prevailing wage and everything, we're finding it's almost cheaper to do a lot of things in-house. So anyway.
Well, that was
I
just
know they're looking at
my conversations with him when we were talking about this, so I'm being a
Yeah.
little proactive on
Okay.
this fact, so, just to give us a heads up, but.
But the street sweeping doesn't solve the problem this guy has. in his car.
That's not what's on the table here.
Yeah, right.
I concur with, I
That one
concur
we're
with
saying-
Tom here, I don't think we do anything, we
Right.
leave everything
Okay.
status quo.
So the motion is out. Any further comments? All in favor? Aye. So moved. So moved. All right.
Is this better or by chasing
Communication
that
and
to 11
disaster
suspects in
preparedness,
the car?
Tom and
This is
Mike.
pretty exciting.
Yeah, so I met with Tom.
Communication and
last
disaster preparedness. Yes,
Oh,
yeah.
we pretty much,
Friday morning, we went through all this stuff. And then I also had a long conversation with Bill Kretinger, part of the OC Races, or Tri-City Races group, about a long-standing project, 5 years or more, where he tried to get a pair of Eridan point-to-point Wi-Fi antennas up on the 2 water towers here. And I spent about 2 hours with him going through the extensive documentation that the city must have spent a ton of time on. I mean, there's legal documents that legal must have been doing forever. The city, I know somebody paid AT&T to go up and do a full survey on the site. Their blueprints and documentations were crazy. I mean, there was a lot of work. And I think, Anna, you were involved in this it's been 5 years. I think he started this in 2015, and then the thing just fell on the floor. And I said to him, now's a good time with the fire concerns and everything else if we want to try to get this in place. My problem with Bill is, and I don't know if any of you have dealt with him much, but follow through is not one of his strengths. And I went to meet with him again, and I had a list of 26 questions about this project that I had sent to him in advance. He replied back with most answers, but then he said, let's meet again and go through the list. And I went and showed up at the coffee shop, and he sends me a text message that, oh, I'm sorry, I'm up in San Jose at a meeting right now, I can't meet you. So I don't know if this is something that is of interest to the group here for me to try and revitalize this idea and bring it to fruition. If we're gonna do that, I've gotta get a bigger commitment from Bill, for sure.
Didn't the
But-
city turn that down though?
Well, that's what I'm trying to
he did
understand.
last
Can I-
year at our meeting.
I mean, I thought the
Can I
city.
Can I speak
Sure.
to this issue?
Sure.
So this is,
You remember this?
Bill has, very much so.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
I don't wanna open that can of worms.
Sit back and relax. It's going to take him a
Okay,
minute.
okay, we
No,
can take this offline.
This
if
is
we
not
need
a
to.
long discussion. I have spent at least 30 hours trying to work on this with Bill. The fundamental problem is that he cannot finalize
Yes.
potential leases to the point where I can take them to the city council for any action. I don't have the time right now, we don't have the time right now to finalize these documents.
Okay.
He has an option, as part of the Races group, to find private properties where he can locate these towers, and he doesn't need to get any city authorization. He doesn't want to do that. He wants them on these particular towers.
And access and a lot of other things that are problematic.
Yeah, I
I
understand.
mean, there's a lot of those kind of issues.
Yep.
He started talking about this 5 years ago. We've been dealing with the leases for maybe a year and a half. This is not a 5-year.
No, but there's a lot of work. There's a lot of work.
There's a lot of work that's been put into it. We will get to it when time is available for it. But he's very persistent, and I get that. But every time we've sent them back and said, you need to redline what you don't like about these agreements. These are our standard lease agreements.
Yeah.
I'm just not getting stuff back, and so I think I know what he wants, but I just don't have the time to put in the hours necessary to finish out these essentially wireless telecommunications facility leases.
Okay.
So that's the issue.
Okay.
But along those lines, I think we do need to have a conversation at some point in time, that maybe for a future agenda on those communications. One of the things that we've always relied on is ham radios, and they have been helpful. But there is new technology, and most of the cities are transferring over to that we can all use, and that's the Starlink. Because it works like a phone, and we can all use it. You don't need special training, and so at some point we have to decide how much we're going to invest in a 1950s technology and how much we're going to invest in the future. And we can't keep, we've talked about it all day today. We can't keep doing stuff the way we used to do it. We're going to have to be more efficient. We're going to have to be more technology driven. And this is one. I don't know how much more money we can spend on ham radios when we have new technology that's a little bit more reliable and easier for untrained people to use. And there's just a reality we've got to look at.
Well, my wife reps the company that sells those radios if you're interested in buying them.
What radios?
I didn't mean to offend your wife.
No. So the technology that he's speaking about was originally owned by the United States government with the Navy. And it gave the Navy the opportunity to communicate across vast amounts of open ocean without having to go through satellites. And so they sold, the government sold those lines of communication, and Rockwell Collins bought it. And Rockwell Collins has been developing this radio system, and they've sold it to various communities. They're trying to get it into a lot of the EOCs and things of that nature, so that you can, because it's not cell-based, but Starlink kind of put a big crimp in that because they went up and put all these satellites up there, and so it's kind of like a little bit different, but it does work. And it's almost like for lack of a better term, it's almost like the Nextel system. It's direct push to talk. Rapid radios is the same type of concept. Rapid radios, you can buy rapid radios and put 100 different people on it, and you get one subscription, and that's it. And we all talk on the same thing. But that's pretty much
Conversation for another day, absolutely, for sure. But one we need to have, for sure.
Good deal. All right, I'd like to get a motion to adjourn the regular meeting of the Community Safety and Welfare Committee on April 28th, 2026 at 3 p.m. at this location. Rosemary, all in favor? Aye. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for sitting through this whole meeting.
Educational for me.
Most of the deputies skip out of here like that.